Good afternoon, everyone outside there, wherever you're watching us from. On the program today on stress management, we have in the studio Dr. Kwangu, and I'm the presenter here of Sampacheo. Dr. Kwangu, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers.
Okay, today on this program, we are going to look at how stress affects the fertility of women and how it leads to miscarriage. So pay attention and listen to what the gynecologist is going to tell us. Dr. Kwangu, can you please define to the viewers what stress is by your own understanding?
Okay, thank you. Hope for that. Just a brief introduction for myself. Dr. Kwangu, based at St. Francis. I'm a registrar in Obs and Gyne. Now in my third year. That means very soon I will be a senior reg in Obs and Gyne. I'm specializing actually in issues to deal with women. So basically, when we look at stress, what we are just talking about is this term stress has been used in different words, in different terms rather. So in this case, we are talking about the feeling of emotional or physical tension. So stress, when a body is stressed, it tends to respond or in one way or the other. So when we apply it to a human being, then it means it's a way the body is responding to a challenge.
Thank you, doctor. And then when it comes to infertility, we have so much women nowadays is struggling with conceiving. How can you define what infertility is?
So basically, infertility, it's failure to conceive within 1 year or more of having unprotected sexual intercourse. So that's the simplest definition I can give for infertility.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. Now we are going to look at how this stress affects the fertility of the women. So,
how stress affects the fertility of women. You find that it has to start with the menstrual cycle. It has to do with the menstrual cycle. For a woman to conceive, she should have a proper menstrual cycle. And the menstrual cycle starts in the brain, in a part of the brain which is called the hypothalamus, which produces gonadotropin releasing hormones. These hormones act on the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland thereafter will produce hormones called follicle stimulating hormone, and also the luteinizing hormone. These two hormones are going to act on the ovary, which will later on act on the uterus, which will produce hormones which act on the uterus. So this is the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So for a woman to have to conceive, she should have a proper hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So how does stress affect this axis? It affects the axis at the level of the hypothalamus, where everything begins from. So you find that a woman who has had chronic stress, they are going to have issues to produce the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which acts on the pituitary gland. So if this hormone is not produced, it means the hormones in the pituitary gland will not be produced. That will mean the hormones in the ovary will also not be produced. Later on, this woman will not have menses. And at the same time, this woman will not ovulate. When they don't ovulate, then it means they cannot conceive. Basically, in other terms, in short terms, that's what I can say about that.
Okay, thank you very much. It now takes us to how stress leads to miscarriage. We've seen that most of the women outside there, they conceive, they become pregnant, then after some months you find that they just lose the pregnancy. Now, can you explain to the people outside there how this stress can lead to miscarriage, so that at least you can try to save one individual outside there?
Okay, so before I come to that, let me try to define what a miscarriage is and also see how can stress cause a miscarriage. So the simple definition of a miscarriage is basically expulsion of an embryo or a fetus which is less than 500 grams out from the uterus to the outside world. Or in other terms, it's basically the expulsion of products of conception before the age of viability. So that means this pregnancy has not reached the age which we call viability. In Zambia, it's at 28 weeks. Then it is expelled. That is a miscarriage. So another addition to that, there is a misconception between a miscarriage and an abortion. So when you tell a woman that she aborted, some women get irritated by that and they'll be upset with you, because it's believed that an abortion in the society is something that somebody has induced, whilst a miscarriage happens spontaneously on its own. Nobody has to tamper with it. But I'm here to clarify that confusion. Abortion and miscarriage is one and the same thing. So let nobody accuse you of doing anything. Abortion comes from a Latin word which is called aborire, meaning to expel. So basically it's just things coming out. That's what it means. So abortion, miscarriage, it's one and the same thing. So when it comes to stress and abortion or miscarriage, there are studies. There's only one paper which I saw that there is a linkage between stress and miscarriages. Otherwise, all the papers that have been done, all the researches that have been done that I came across, they were all saying that there is no linkage between stress and a miscarriage. There are other causes of miscarriages as opposed to stress. This one paper which I read, they were basically talking about the stress hormone which is produced, which later on brings about metabolic disorders, then eventually a miscarriage. So even that, you can say that it's not stress directly causing a miscarriage. So there's no linkage between stress and a miscarriage.
Okay, thank you very much for clearing that, for giving that clarification on the abortion and miscarriage. Because I also equally thought abortion is when someone just wants to get rid of the child, to get rid of an embryo. But then at least you have cleared the air to say no, it's actually or almost means the same. Okay, I heard you mentioning something like miscarriage can also be caused by other things. Can you clearly come out what are those other things that can lead to miscarriage?
So other causes of miscarriages, the commonest are genetic abnormalities, chromosomal abnormalities. These are the most common causes of miscarriages. So these chromosomal abnormalities, those who've done biology, they will agree with me that a human being has got 46 chromosomes and so on and so forth. So as fertilization takes place, if there is any abnormality in the chromosome of that embryo, then it means the body will interpret that as a foreign body and expel it. It does not want to keep abnormal things. So the body itself is going to expel that and it comes out. So most of the common causes of abortions or miscarriages is chromosomal abnormalities. Other things are endocrine disorders. So these endocrine disorders that we are talking about, things like diabetes mellitus, hypothyroidism, those things will lead to miscarriages. Other things are hypertensive disorders, hypertension. can lead to a miscarriage. Other things are anatomical abnormalities. You find that this woman has got an incompetent cervix, so the cervix fails to hold the pregnancy. So cervical incompetence leads to miscarriage, usually late second trimester miscarriages. Then other things, other abnormalities that can lead to miscarriage are things like bicornuate uterus or unicornuate uterus, septed uterus. Also, uterine fibroids have been associated with miscarriages because what a fibroid does is it limits the space, the uterine space, so that will cause a miscarriage. Other things is that they impair implantation of the embryo, fertilized egg, that also leads to a miscarriage. Other things that we can also talk about are autoimmune diseases. Things like systemic lupus erythematosus, those will lead to a miscarriage. And also infections can also lead to a miscarriage. Then the other thing that we also need to note in our women is the blood group. So if there's blood group incompatibility between the mother and the fetus, the body is going to expel that fetus.
Okay, I heard you mentioned something like infection can also lead to miscarriage. Can you clearly, in lay language, can you tell the media or the public what are some of these infections that can cause miscarriage? Examples.
So some of the infections that have been associated with miscarriages, the commonest is parasitic infections, things like malaria. Let's not take malaria to be a simple disease. Malaria can cause a lot of harm on a human body as opposed to good. So things like malaria can lead to a miscarriage. Things like there's toxoplasmosis, there's also herpes simplex, there's also cytomegalovirus. All those things will lead to a miscarriage.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there some symptoms that you can tell, like symptoms of stress in a woman who's pregnant, that can even maybe trigger miscarriage?
So symptoms of stress in a woman who's pregnant is very difficult to note because the fact that there's a baby developing in that body, there are physiological changes which take place in this woman's body. So there are hormonal changes, things like mood swings, sadness, all those things. It will be difficult for you to say these symptoms are direct from stress or it's basically the pregnancy itself. On top of that, pregnancy itself is quite stressful on the woman. So there's a mixture of symptoms there. It's very difficult to note.
Okay, thank you very much. We have seen that the level of stress in the country has increased. A lot of people are stressed out there. Now my question is, in the Department of Health, do you have a department that is directly helping people who are stressed?
So in the department, or in the health department rather, there are departments there which help people who are stressed. One of them is the mental health. There are people who are actually there to counsel, they are psychosocial counselors to counsel these people who are under stress, and that can easily help these people to come out of their stressful conditions.
Okay, thank you very much. What is your message to people outside there who don't take stress seriously? They just feel like when they are stressed, they say, oh, okay, it's a normal thing, it will go. What advice can you give to them?
Okay, stress itself can be acute or chronic, and it can be positive or negative. So most people, what stress does to the body, it will make you either fight the challenge that you are faced with, or it will make you fly, which is flight, or meaning you run away from that challenge. That's how stress is, and that's how people react to stressful conditions. So others who are more stressed, who take it so casually, they will end up resorting to wrong ideas of managing stress. Others will be alcoholics, they will start drinking a lot, they will start smoking, they will start dealing with drugs, they will start overeating, and so on and so forth. So many things that they will be doing, wrong things, just to help them manage that stress. So the message I have for these people is that if you are feeling stressed, find somebody to talk to. Find somebody who can counsel you, even a pastor or an elder at church, or somebody, an elder you trust, who can help you out of the challenging situation that you are facing.
Thank you very much. The other question is, does this stress affect also men?
Okay, stress also affects men. It's not just the women who are stressed. Even the men are stressed. Actually, men are more stressed as opposed to women, because men are known to be providers at home. They are known to be the protector at home. They are heads, they are the leaders, and so on and so forth. So if this person is failing to provide, failing to protect, failing to show leadership at home, they will tend to get stressed because of those things that they are failing to do. And that also has an impact on them, because stress can lead to hypertension. Even a man can get hypertension. Stress can predispose somebody to having high blood sugar, diabetes. Even a man can get that. Stress has an effect even on the fertility of men. It leads to low testosterone levels. This hormone is the hormone which is responsible for male characteristics. It's also responsible for increased libido. So if there is a reduction in the levels of testosterone, this woman will be sexually depressed. So the libido will go down. So stress will also affect a man in such a way that there will be reduced sperm production, or there's going to be abnormal sperm production. So all those things are going to affect this man also in terms of fertility. And if he's failing to make somebody pregnant, the cycle goes on. He gets more stressed. More stress, more issues with the testosterone, sperm production, and so on and so forth. So it's like a vicious cycle to keep going round and round and round until he finds somebody who can help.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure most of the people outside there, they have less idea about stress causing infertility in men. In most of the time they think it's just a woman whose fault it is not to produce children. But then they like that idea to say stress also affects the men. Thank you very much, Doctor, for that information. I would love you to comment, to give just a comment on what you think, on what is happening currently in the country, where you find that most of the husbands now are now killing their wives when they have a misunderstanding. An example of what just happened recently, where a man killed a woman over a misunderstanding. And this has continued happening. Now, what comment can you give? Is it stress related? What's your comment, Doctor?
Okay, so on that one, what I can comment is that stress, how can stress also lead to such things? So stress is going to aggravate anger. It will break down your threshold for anger to a lower level. So that means if you are stressed and then you are presented with just a small thing, you'll be more upset than you were supposed to be, and you end up doing wrong things. I'll also refer to the Bible. I'm also a Christian, even if I'm a doctor. So there's in the book of Psalms, chapter 38, verse 3. So when you're upset, your mind is not in the right position to make a correct decision. So there is no soundness in your mind when you're upset. That's what that verse talks about. So the things you are going to do, you are going to regret when you come back to your normal state. So the best is to be patient. The best is to try and manage this stress that is aggravating your anger, so that you avoid some of these things that are happening. Today it's your friend a victim, tomorrow it may be you. We are all prone to becoming stressed and then getting upset, then doing wrong things at the end. So my advice is that when you are stressed, seek for help. Find somebody you can talk to, somebody you trust, somebody who can give you a proper advice on what you are going through.
Okay. So the information being given to the people outside there is that they should know how to manage their stress.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if they don't manage their stress, it will trigger their anger and then they can do anything, even killing their spouses, which is a very bad vice like in our country here in Zambia. Okay. I would have to ask now for the last comment over what you have discussed to the people outside there.
So to the people outside there, I have something that I can talk about in relation to fertility. I see a lot of women coming to my gynae clinic with issues of fertility. And most of the time it's the woman who's blamed that you are barren, you cannot reproduce. Much as that is true, studies have shown that 30 to 40% of infertility cases are as a result of the male factor. So for a woman to conceive, there should be a male, and not just any other male. There should be a functional male, a male who can produce proper, good quality and quantity sperms. So 30 to 40% are attributed to male factors. Then about 30 or 40 to 55% that's attributed to the female factor, where now it's the problem of the woman who is not able to conceive, the man is okay. Then 10% it's attributed to both. You find that the man and the woman, they are both not able to conceive, not able to have a baby. Then 10% is unexplained. They are just things you cannot explain why this couple is failing to have a baby. So the message is that to everyone out there who's having issues to conceive, do not put it all on your wife. Even you, the man, you could be the problem. So when you go to see a doctor, let everyone be examined and tested so that you see where the problem is. Is it arising from the man? Is it arising from the woman? Then you make a conclusion. Do not just put the blame on the woman. I've seen a lot of couples where the woman is blamed. After doing investigations, you find that actually it was the man who was the problem. It's the man who was unable to conceive. One terminology somebody told me was that being a father is by faith. Only the mother knows the true father. So don't say a woman will come to you to say this is your child and you believe. Yes, of course it could be your child, but you just believe, you just have faith that I'm the father. But for the woman, she knows that she's the mother. She's able to conceive. So you're better off both of you being tested and examined and not where the problem is, then sort it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there is this misconception in society whereby if a couple is not having children, their blame will always be on a woman to say she's the one who's responsible for not conceiving. Now, well, thank you very much for that information, because at least even those who are hearing us, they will now know that it is the responsibility of the two couple, the two spouses to produce a child or to conceive. Thank you very much, viewers, for listening to us. It has been me, the presenter, Opsampachewo Michelo, also the motivation speaker, and Dr. Pango. Until next time when you watch us. For those who are interested in this program, we kindly ask for your sponsorship. You can come on board and invite us wherever you are. We shall discuss this issue further and more. Thank you very much. It is bye for now.